President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto continued their 4-day coastal tour where they visited Kwale and Kilifi counties. They urged residents to elect leaders who are ready and willing to work with the government, hitting out at the opposition for spreading propaganda and creating divisions among residents. And as Peter Mwangangi reports, the promises kept coming, with President Kenyatta committing that the elderly people will from next year benefit from the cash transfer program to enable them live dignified lives, and that's 70 plus.
The second day of President Uhuru Kenyatta's tour of the coast region started in Vanga in Kwale County, where he launched a road and addressed residents. He then proceeded to Karisa Maitha grounds here in Kilifi County, where he addressed residents.
Twauliza kwa heshima pia, mutupatie governor, mutupatie wajumbe, mutupatie senator na ma-MCA ambao wako ready kufanya kazi, lakini sio kuja kuwachochea jameni.
Kwa sababu kitendawili tumeitegua, wale wameenda kutengeneza mtego eti wanaswa. Ati nyinyi msiwakwepe tena. Nyinyi mko tayari kunaswa?
Mambo ya propaganda na story watu wawache. Na nyinyi wenzangu mjue kitu kimoja. Mtakuja hapa mletewe propaganda na matusi. Itawafurahisha, mcheke, dakika zile mtacheka. Lakini mtu ajiulize, kama haya matusi mtaweza muyakule au itaweza kuwaletea maendeleo?
Tumeambiwa na ndugu zetu wale wapinzani hapa, mmoja akiwa gavana wetu, kwamba Jubilee haijafanya kitu Kilifi na Pwani. Lakini unajua Mungu ni wa maajabu. Juzi Mbogolo ilipokatika, gavana wa Kilifi ndio alijua kwamba Jubilee imefanya kazi. Kwa sababu alipitia Mazera, Kaloleni mpaka tokea Mavueni, ndio akajua Jubilee imefanya kazi.
Candidates for various seats under the Jubilee party ticket were introduced to the residents. The leaders also outlined some of the achievements of the Jubilee administration so far.
Serikali ya Jubilee imetoa hati miliki nyingi sana kuliko serikali zingine, kwa sababu sisi tunatambua ya kwamba hakuna dawa ya mtu squatter. Apatiwe hati miliki awe mwenyewe.
Kwa bajeti ya mwaka huu ya kwamba pesa ambayo tunagawa ya cash transfer, na ndio tuhakikishe ya kwamba sasa haitakuwa na ubaguzi hiyo pesa. Wazee wote ambao wamefika miaka 70 watakuwa na right ya kwenda na kupata hiyo pesa, na ndio waweze kuishi maisha yao ya retire wakiwa na dignity yao.
Kilifi County has 510,000 votes, and the leaders hope that the residents will vote for them to ensure that they complete what they have started. Peter Mwangangi, NTV, at the Karisa Maitha grounds, Kilifi.
Let me make a clarification. At the end of that intro, I said 70 plus. I wasn't talking about their promise of 70 plus one. I was talking about the age, and that is a promise that Jubilee is giving in terms of the money they will be giving the elderly, 70 and above. Let me not say 70 plus one. We'll talk about that with Professor Munene, and that is a 10 million strong.
70 plus.
Yeah, but not plus one. Yeah, not plus one. Yeah. But in terms of the promises as well, as you hear this, you've just spoken about the promises made by NASA, and it's just a political season and it's expected. What about you hear from the Jubilee side?
Well, the promise to take care of the elderly. It's a good promise. It remains the implementation. Okay. It's always the sticky point. The people who are going to be entrusted with the actual payment will need to be investigated. We have seen in the past promises made many times in good faith. But when it goes to the actual implementation, you don't see it. And you can have all sorts of excuses and explanations as to why that is.
And there's a lot of, there can be expected a lot of euphoria around the promise of, free secondary education.
Yes.
I mean, is this just a blatant lie? Because we've seen the failed laptop projects.
The promises are expected. The implementation is something. In fact, the very idea of free education is not new.
Yes.
Right, even at the time of independence, they were still talking about the same thing. And so when it comes to implementing, something goes wrong somewhere. Because remember Kibaki said, watoto wasome.
Yes.
And we had some 80-year-old people going to class. And it worked for a while. Then people started saying, wait a minute, some things, they're not adding up. And then the promise of secondary. Then the implementation is again the thing. And as you point out, the laptop promise, a good idea, the implementation was a problem. Because I think the logistics of it had not been worked out properly.
Yeah.
Had they been worked out, maybe it would have worked. But they had not been worked out, and hence it has not been done.
And there's the other question. I mean, if indeed this doesn't work out, there was money allocated to it, and if it wasn't implemented, then where did that money go? And the question of corruption.
Yeah, comes up. Of course, there is a lot of questions need to be asked about a lot of things. If money was allocated, and if it has not been implemented, was the money returned to the treasury? If not, where did it go? Which would then imply serious corruption issues. And they are so serious, so entrenched, that the manipulators, first of all, those who do it know the system very well. So they can work their way and you never catch them. But somehow you don't explain where did the money go. Because you check here, they're always having good explanations. And the bottom line, corruption. So who is the corrupt person who ate the money by failing to do what was supposed to be done, and the money was never returned to the source because it was not done? So yes, there is the challenge of corruption and catching whoever it is that may be responsible for that. And we have all these commissions that are looking into the corruption thing,
yes, yes.
Which then becomes a challenge in itself, because essentially they are doing police work. Which implies that the challenge is so big, you need many agencies to do the same thing. And the question that we need to ask ourselves is, why, despite all these organs, it persists?
Yeah. But there's the issue of what sway this has in terms of for the followers in the electorate, beg your pardon, and whether or not this promise will be implemented or kept. Does it hold sway for the voters?
Some. Not all of them. When it comes to the election in August, the 8th, especially at the presidential level, because that's where the attention is.
Well, there's MCAs as well.
Yeah, MCAs,
and governors.
MCAs and governors, and then you localize the matter.
Yes.
So, of course, some governors and MCAs have already been kicked out through nominations.
Right.
And if you look for the reasons, is because people are tired. And they have seen there is a movement going on right now that is anti-people who are perceived either not to deliver or to be crooks in the positions. And so there is a movement to look out for believability. Who is it that can be trusted to deliver, to push the public agenda in a credible way? And that's what you saw in the MCAs. The fact that some of the MCAs gave a very wrong impression that the station of MCA is one that you can become a millionaire overnight. You know, and people saw that. They say, what's this? And maybe it might explain why there are so many people who want to be MCAs now, because they saw, no, here you can be rich overnight,
right,
without too many hassles. For a strange reason, not too many people want to be senators, compared to the others.
So back to the question of the sway in terms of the promises that have been kept in this particular term and the promises being made for the future, and whether it's believable or not, and how much influence it has in terms of the decision to vote. You've said some.
Yeah.
It
will have some. You know, you see, there are people who are fanatics. The fanatics will not be swayed one way or the other.
Okay.
You know, because if the people have already made up their mind, you are voting for this candidate, the issues that you bring up or challenges will be brushed aside because they've already made up their mind. Yeah. But there is also a large group of people, somewhere in the middle, trying to see which way things go. Now, if one side is strong enough in persuading that middle group that it is more credible than the other, then that way it will go that way.
Yes.
And it also comes down to, at every level, the personality. Who is believable? Mm-hmm. Or who can you trust with your life?
Yeah.
You know, when things, when you're in a rough environment. And whether it's at the low level MCA, whether it's MPs and governors or the president, whom can you trust?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
And in terms of trust, let's revisit what we were talking about earlier in the program, and that's this issue of integrity. Yes. And if indeed it has consequence, being named in a list of, you know, leaders who, whose, you know, suitability for office has been questioned.
Yes.
The red card 20, those who have been, you know, red carded. Will this have an effect on their office attempt?
No. Now, the being mentioned is not conviction. For some people, being mentioned is very bad because it tarnishes the image they may have cultivated of cleanliness. Others, it would not matter because these are allegations. Mm-hmm. Now, the Constitution is very clear. You cannot be stopped from being a candidate unless you have been convicted, you have made your appeals and they have been rejected, all the way to the Supreme Court. When the Supreme Court rejects your appeal, then it would be proper to stop you. Not before then. And even then, they still doubt whether you can be stopped.
Yes.
But the procedure is very clear. So these are allegations against particular individuals. Of course, some people may raise questions, why did you pick on these and not so-and-so, 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 so-and-so? Against whom there are also what? Allegations of various malfeasance.
The question is whether this is a witch hunt.
Yeah, the impression being created is that it is a witch hunt. And that is not to say that the people mentioned may not have something to answer.
True.
It's not to say that they are clean or not dirty, but the appearance of selectivity, when you can mention other people who are not on that list, who are also alleged to have done strange things, and yet their names are not there.
But this will not jeopardize their opportunities in terms from the perspective of the
voter.
Of the
voter? No.
And because there's also the issue, some say, you know, criticize
in fact, it even appears that the selection of these people is a way to stop them from being on the ballot.
Right.
Not because the voters don't want them. Then it appears as if there is a cartel organizing things. Whom do you want to fix?
But some say you know, they're made heroes in terms of when there's issues around them, when they're put on a list, on whether it's integrity, you know, or whatever you might have. They actually become heroes, and Kenyan society makes a hero.
In some places, no, they may become heroes or be seen as heroes, especially if the impression can be created that the naming was selective, victimization, and it's beginning to appear, at least being presented that way, that the selectivity of particular people and not others is victimization. And why are they being victimized? It's because they are our heroes or something like that. So the problem is in the way it was done.
Okay.
And then you wait until the last minute.
Probably for impact, because it's irrelevant.
No, it's an impact thing. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
And it may have the impact that they did not intend to.
Right.
Because you increase the popularity of a person by selective accusation. And then you say, wait, what's going on here?
And then there's this issue of our person, targeting our person.
You are fixing, why are you fixing the...
Yes.
These issues have been in the public domain for months.
Right.
Why now? Just when they're about to present their credentials.
Right.
So the IBC is the one which is in a lot of trouble, because it should not be seen to be captured.
Yeah. Well, in their defense, they'll say this is not listed for, you know, it's not, the genesis isn't from the IBC, but they've given their response. And we'll get to that,
yes.
Professor Munene. I just want to take a quick breather here as we also add some on the panel, hopefully in the next hour.